there's really two major categorizations of buyers, if you would, and I'd call those strategic buyers and financial buyers. The strategic buyers are operating companies. They're companies that have a good business and they want to continue to grow in that industry by making acquisitions of similar companies, usually smaller similar companies. The other type is a financial buyer. It's usually an investor group, which could be a private equity firm, a venture capital firm. They're looking to invest in an industry. They don't already have an investment in an industry, and they're looking to back a management team in order to help grow that company within the industry. And so those are the two different types, and what they're looking for and how you deal in those environments can be different in many ways, and there's similarities in others.
Well, why don't you walk through that a little bit and how the difference in buyer can affect the price?
Right. It's difficult to generalize all types of buyers, but I'll do the best I can for the benefit of sharing a few lessons learned. First of all, let me talk about the strategic buyers. And sometimes the strategic buyer who might be looking at a company could be a competitor with which the company is friendly, or it may be a competitor who's the arch enemy. And the seller always needs to keep in mind who's going to own that company after the transaction takes place. And so you want to know who that player is and what they're all about, because the goal of that strategic buyer is usually to buy the target company and then to integrate that company into their existing operations. In many cases, that involves reducing the overhead in the acquired company, maybe getting rid of part or all of the management team, and that makes it more profitable then for those two companies to come together. There's synergies, cost savings to be achieved through that process. It's not always the case. It's often the case. And when that's the case, the seller can often get the best price for the company because after the sale, there's an ability to make more profits by reducing costs. Again, the owner, the seller of the company needs to consider who's going to get fired. Is that important, or is just the highest price the most important priority for the seller? That needs to be thought about carefully. Again, thinking about financial buyers and what they're looking for, usually, not always, usually they're looking for that acquisition to be the platform company. They're backing that management team. And so if the founder or seller of the company is looking to exit the business, that's something they have to think about, which is to build a management team that's going to be able to run the company once it's acquired. But usually it's less interruptive. That acquisition is less interruptive when you have a private equity firm that's backing you. But at the same time, I have to issue a word of caution, which is that finance people are very different from operating people. I've been both. And I can tell you that the difference is much greater than I realized and that many of your listeners would probably appreciate. So the rules of the game after you're owned by a private equity firm often change. Some private equity firms are focused on cost reductions. They're focused on cash flow. They're focused on reducing investment in the company. Others are looking at the opposite. But it's a different game, and again, that seller, owner, needs to consider what's the best fit for their organization and what are their personal goals in terms of getting the best price now versus what does that company turn into in the future.